I still remember the weight of the cocoa pods in my hands, the sharp crack as I split them open with a machete. The sweet smell of the fresh beans would fill the air. That scent lives with me today, even as I walk the marble halls of government buildings in Washington, D.C. My village had no electricity until I was 16, I tell the room full of international development experts. Their eyes widen. The nearest high school was 12 kilometers away. This always surprises people, that the man in the tailored suit presenting economic policy recommendations began life so far from these polished conference rooms. But my story isn't as unusual as they think. We all start somewhere. The sun rose at 5:30 a.m. in our village near Kumasi. I woke with it, joining my father and brothers in the cocoa fields before school. Our farm was small, just 3 acres, but it fed our family of 7 and paid school fees. My mother sold some of our harvest at the market, carefully saving the extra money. "Kwame," she'd say to me, counting coins into a metal box hidden under her bed, "this is for your future." I didn't know then what that future might be. The village teacher had noticed I asked questions other children didn't. He gave me old newspapers and books when he could. My father had never learned to read. He traced the newspaper headlines with his calloused finger and asked, "What does this say, Kwame?" I'd read to him about places I'd never seen, Accra, London, New York, while the kerosene lamp cast long shadows across our mud brick walls. "These are just stories," my father would say. "Focus on what's real, the land, the cocoa. This is what will feed you." He wasn't wrong. The cocoa was our life. But I dreamed of something else. School meant walking. Every day, I walked 6 kilometers each way to the middle school. When I qualified for high school, the first in my family, the distance doubled to 12 kilometers. I left home at 5 a.m., returning after dark. During rainy season, the red dirt road turned to mud that sucked at my shoes. In dry season, dust coated my uniform. I kept my one school shirt clean by carrying it separately, changing into it just before arriving. My classmates who lived in town couldn't understand why I bothered. "No one from your village has gone to university," one boy told me. "Why try?" I didn't have a good answer then. I just knew I wanted to see what lay beyond our district, beyond Ghana even. I wanted to understand why some nations prospered while others, like mine, struggled despite our rich lands and hard work. The turning point came when a Peace Corps volunteer visited our school. She taught us about international relations and how decisions made in distant capitals affected even remote villages like mine. "The price your parents receive for cocoa isn't set here," she explained. "It's determined in trading offices in London and New York by people who have never seen a cocoa tree." Something clicked. I wanted to be in those rooms where decisions were made. Getting to university meant leaving everything I knew. My village collected money, $2.30, to help with my first semester at the University of Ghana. My mother sold her gold earrings, her only valuable possession. The day I left, my father walked me to the main road to catch the bus to Accra. "You are carrying all our hopes," he said simply. "Don't look back." Accra overwhelmed me. Buildings taller than any I'd seen, streets crowded with cars, lights that stayed on all night. My accent marked me as a rural boy. City students snickered when I spoke. I lived in a room with 5 other students, sleeping on the floor for the first year until I found work tutoring junior students. The library became my sanctuary. I studied political science and economics, trying to understand the forces that kept farmers like my father working so hard for so little. "You talk about farmers like you know them," a professor once commented after I challenged his point about agricultural subsidies. "I am them," I said. Or I was. The scholarship offer from Georgetown University came during my final year in Accra. $25,000 per year. More money than my entire village saw in a year. I called home from a pay phone with the news. My mother cried. My father was silent for a long moment. "America," he finally said. "Will you come back?" I promised I would. I meant it. Landing in Washington in January hit me like a physical shock. The cold air bit through the light jacket I'd bought in Accra. The buildings, the streets, the sheer scale of everything, it was Accra multiplied tenfold. My first week, I got lost on the metro and spent 3 hours riding back and forth, too embarrassed to admit I couldn't figure out the system. I ate rice I cooked on a hot plate in my shared room, saving every dollar of my small stipend. Graduate school was another kind of challenge. I was competing with students who had grown up with computers, who spoke the language of international relations as naturally as breathing. My first paper came back marked with red. Your analysis is compelling but your format is incorrect. See me. I worked twice as hard. Stayed in the library until closing. Recorded lectures to listen to again at night. Found a job in the International Students Office to earn extra money. Sent $50 home each month, a fortune in my village. The breakthrough came during a seminar on international trade. The professor asked about African agricultural exports. The problem isn't just trade barriers, I said. It's that we're still producing raw materials instead of finished goods. Ghana grows cocoa but Switzerland makes the chocolate and captures the profits. The room went quiet. The professor nodded. Can you expand on that? For the first time, I realized my background wasn't a disadvantage, it was my unique perspective. I knew things these students had only read about. I understood the human cost of economic policies in ways they couldn't. My thesis on agricultural development won a department award. At graduation, my advisor introduced me to a contact at an international development organization. This young man has insights we need, she said. 20 years later, I direct African economic initiatives at an international organization. My office window overlooks the National Mall. On my wall hangs a photograph of my village's cocoa cooperative, standing proud beside their first processing facility, a project I helped secure funding for. Last year, I took my American-born children to Ghana. We visited the village, now connected to the electrical grid, with a paved road to the nearest town. My father, now bent with age, showed my son how to crack open a cocoa pod. Your father once did this all day, he told him. Now he makes policies instead. My son looked confused. Which is better? My father and I exchanged glances. Neither is better, I said. But having choices is everything. The truth is more complicated. Each role matters, the farmers who grow the food, the traders who move it, the policymakers who create the systems. I've learned that real change happens when these worlds connect, when policies reflect realities on the ground. I think of this when I enter negotiation rooms representing Ghana and other African nations. I carry my village with me. When trade representatives talk about agricultural subsidies, I picture my father's hands. When they discuss educational initiatives, I remember my daily 12-kilometer walk. Policy isn't abstract, I say in meetings. Every decision affects real lives. Nights when I can't sleep, I still smell cocoa beans drying in the sun. I wonder what would have happened if that teacher hadn't given me those books, if that Peace Corps volunteer hadn't visited our school, if my village hadn't pooled their money. I've learned success isn't just about leaving one place for another. It's about building connections between worlds. The young people I mentor now, many from backgrounds like mine, often ask how I managed the transition. Keep one foot in each world, I tell them. Your perspective is your power. Last week, a trade agreement I helped negotiate was finalized. It will increase the price paid to West African cocoa farmers by 15%. I called my father with the news. Good, he said simply. That will help. This is my life's work, translating between worlds, creating policies that remember the farmer while speaking the language of international finance. The journey from that dusty village to Washington wasn't just about distance. It was about maintaining connection while gaining perspective.